Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's information session. Today, we are going to be sharing information about our Software Development Bootcamp that is available through UBC. And we also have a very special guest speaker joining us today as well. So before I kick off the actual presentation, though, I just want to make sure that everybody can see me okay, everybody can hear me okay. I've enabled the React emojis. You can give me some thumbs up if you like. You can let me know in the chat. Perfect. I see some thumbs up coming through there. And feel free to share in the chat as well where everyone is joining us from. I'm personally from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Actually, originally from Niagara Falls, so I'm in Ontario. And I've lived in 3 provinces now, but currently in Calgary. Vancouver, I see on there. Amazing. See a bunch of people typing. More Vancouver. I'm assuming probably going to have a lot of people from out towards Vancouver. Vernon, amazing. Well, welcome everyone. In the bottom right-hand corner of this screen here, you can see Victoria, Vancouver, but moved from Calgary. Nice, Vancouver. Amazing. Lots of Vancouvers, absolutely. It's one of my favorite Canadian cities. So yes, down in the bottom corner in the screen, you can see the chat log. Obviously, we're all kind of communicating there right now. There's also a questions tab. So what we're going to do near the end of this presentation, or actually right at the end of this presentation, we're going to do a little bit of Q&A with today's guest speaker from Uber. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and drop them into the questions tab. I promise we're not going to ignore them throughout the whole time. We'll just kind of gently ignore them while we're presenting, and then at the end, we will bring them up and kind of answer them in front of the class, is the way I usually say. There's also a polls tab down there. I did drop a couple polls in advance of this presentation. Feel free to fill those out just anytime that you like while we're presenting here. And then beside the polls tab, there is the people tab. That just kind of shows you everybody who is in this space and viewing this presentation. So yeah, if you guys have any questions throughout about how to use any of those features, feel free to just let me know in the chat tab, and the staff or myself can assist. But without further ado, I can go ahead and get the presentation queued up here. There we go. Amazing. So yes, so today's presentation is Intro to Software Development. It is a career workshop, how to become a software developer. By the end of the presentation here, you will have heard from our amazing guest speaker. As I said, you're going to learn about our Software Development Bootcamp, and I will share the pricing and upcoming cohort information with everybody as well. So I will start off by introducing myself. My name is Tyler Trapp. I'm the marketing events manager at CircuitStream, and I've been with this company for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I guess, rounding into the beginning of this summer. Can't remember exactly what my official start date was, but I think it's July or so. And before this, I worked in travel and tourism for about 10 plus years. I worked in hotels and hospitality, and through COVID, I ended up shifting over to technology and education. So that's me. We will also have Bria Wallace, senior software engineer at Uber, joining us on stage in just a few minutes to share about her story, information about her current role at Uber, and her tips and advice for new software developers. But before I invite her up on stage, I'm going to first kick off the presentation with a little bit of an overview of who we are at CircuitStream. So CircuitStream began in 2015 through a network of developers, designers, and creators, and is now a leading provider of technology learning in AR/VR, game development and design, product management, and software development. We partner with industry-leading companies and leading educational institutions to offer the courses and training to those who are looking to learn more about these emerging technologies. And on the screen there, you can see some of our partners, university partners on the right, and then just a handful of our corporate technology partners on the left. And I should pause there really quick and just mention, for anybody looking to kind of review this information afterwards, or whatever the case may be, this full presentation will be recorded and emailed out to all of the people who've registered. So you're welcome to take notes, you're welcome to take screenshots, you can take photos, you can do anything you like, or you can just sit back and relax, and all the information will be sent to you in an email afterwards in a full recorded format. So I'll jump back in here. Sorry, I just wanted to quickly plug that, make sure that everyone knew they were going to get a recording. So why launch a career in software development? Software developers collaborate with project managers, designers, and end users to understand requirements and translate them into functional software solutions. They're responsible for designing, coding, testing, and maintaining software applications and systems. The combination of intellectual challenge, creative expression, collaboration, and impact makes being a software developer a deeply fulfilling and very rewarding profession, as I'm sure the speaker will share with you very soon. On screen, you can see just some of the top reasons why people would choose to work as software developers. Acquiring software development skills in Canada specifically positions individuals to excel in a variety of industries and contribute to economic growth. In the province of British Columbia alone, there are over 51,000 developer and programmer jobs supported and over 11,000 companies in the industry. Again, these stats will be sent to everybody afterwards. So as soon as I start sharing stats, I always like to make sure I repeat that the recording's coming out to everyone. There are many different titles that software developers are hired for, including programmers, software engineers, front end, back end developers, so on and so forth. And according to BC Tech Association, there are over 15,000 job openings for software developers in BC each year, and over 220,000 people directly employed in this industry in the province alone. So these are just statistics based on British Columbia for software developers. Now, in terms of the actual boot camp itself, the hands-on 36-week software development boot camp is both online and project-based. It has 5 hours of live class per week, 2.5 hours of technical biweekly career labs, and 10 hours of independent study. There are weekly assignments, in-class challenges, portfolio projects, and students complete the course with a capstone project at the end of the boot camp. Over the course of the 36 weeks, you acquire the skills to master the craft of developing advanced, scalable software systems, including leveraging modern AI tools to code faster and smarter. This foundational course is an excellent starting point for those aiming to establish a career in software development, offering an in-depth introduction to the industry's core practices and emerging trends. A little bit on the course there, the boot camp. The bootcamp graduates emerge with a set of comprehensive skills, I should say, that prepare them for success in the dynamic field of software development. I'm going to need a sip of water soon. This happens about this point every time I do a presentation. Through in-depth modules like software development foundations, students gain the ability to conceptualize and create solutions to complex problems, fostering critical thinking and analytical reasoning. Graduates are also educated in areas like front-end development, full stack integration, system design, and algorithmic thinking, AI enhanced software development, and more, as you can see on the screen here. Students do receive career development and support and complete this boot camp with a software developer certification. Hello, Martin. I just see you joined the session and said hello there. And speaking of career development support, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Circuit Stream's student outcome manager, One Eye. She's actually currently traveling. She's in San Francisco this week for the Game Developers Conference, which is very exciting. So she's not able to join this presentation. Normally, she would hop on stage for a quick moment and say hello. But One Eye oversees the career development component for all of our boot camps. They all come with career support and guidance. And I'm going to share a little bit about that on her behalf. So the career labs teach students how to leverage technical and behavioral strengths, gain awareness of the digital ecosystem, create compelling portfolios, elevate digital presence, learn how to network effectively, and become interview ready for industry jobs. The career and networking support really sets our programs apart from others that you might find. Every student has different objectives when they come in, but for those looking for new jobs or to improve their current positions, they find that this aspect is incredibly helpful for them. And as a part of the career support, our boot camps also come with a student pitch day, which happens towards the end of the program. Students have the opportunity to showcase their capstone projects, and they can do that to hiring and industry partners that we bring in to kind of view that presentation. This event is an amazing way to add people to your network, to be considered for job openings, or just receive feedback on your projects from hiring managers and from professionals who are currently working in the industry. So now, without further ado, I've kind of opened this enough here. I'm going to officially invite our guest speaker on stage for today. Bria is an experienced iOS engineer with a demonstrated history of working on consumer technology. Through her work at Groupon, Verily, Twitter, and Uber, she has built a keen eye for user experience and delight. She believes that technology can truly change the world, and she strives every day to achieve that. So, welcome to the stage, Bria.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Let me share my screen.
I'll take mine off here and make some room for you, Bria.
Okay. Thank you.
Just pull me back up when you're done. I'll hop back up.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. Can everyone see my slides? A quick thumbs up if you can. Awesome. Thank you. As Tyler said, my name's Bria. I'm a senior iOS engineer, I think developer technically in Canada. At Uber, I work on the product equity team, and I'll dive in a little bit later on what exactly that means because it is a newer concept in technology. So I wanted to start off by kind of giving an overview of who I am, where I came from, how I got to where I am today. I don't think I had a very traditional path in a lot of ways, but also a very non-traditional path in a lot of ways. So if there are any questions on any parts of this, like feel free to ask. So I was born and raised in New York City, in Brooklyn. Absolutely love it. When I was in elementary school, I joined a program called Prep for Prep, which is a school that finds gifted students in public schools. And basically you go to two schools for 2 years, in 5th and 6th grade, and then they place you into private schools in New York City. So when I finished that program, I ended up at a school called the Spence School, very small, all girls private school. If you've seen the show Gossip Girl, it was actually based on Spence. Pretty cool. And then after Spence, I went to MIT for my undergrad. I was 100% sure that I wanted to be a cardiovascular surgeon who also did cancer research. So was fully on the pre-med track, was planning on doing an MD PhD once I graduated from my undergrad. Obviously that did not happen. So my freshman year at MIT, like everyone else, I had to take intro to physics. And it was my first real physics class ever. And I got a C and decided my life was over. I was like, I will never be a doctor. I will never get into med school. No school will ever accept me ever again. So everything that I do from here on out has to just be with the degree that I'm going to get from undergrad. So I kind of switched my path very dramatically into just biological engineering and focused more on the research side. And when I was at MIT, I also took Spanish class. I had taken it in high school and I love the language. And MIT has a really great study abroad program. So I spent the summer after my sophomore year in Barcelona. So I got to Barcelona, had an internship set up in a genetics lab. And when I got there, they told me that I was the computer science intern for the summer. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm a bioengineering student. I don't know how to code. And they were like, yes, you do. It says on your resume that you know Python. And for context, at MIT, all biological engineering majors have to take Intro to Python. It was a one-off thing. I took it, I passed, I was done with it forever. But I was in Spain. I didn't really have a choice. So I spent the next 3 months teaching myself how to code in a couple more languages. Everyone I worked with was actually a bioengineer. So it was a lot of self-teaching, but I realized I really loved it. When I got back to campus for my junior year, I talked to my advisor and she let me know that MIT actually has a joint degree between molecular biology and computer science. So all of the classes I had taken for bioengineering could be transferred to the molecular biology half of that major. So I spent the last 2 years of college, in my opinion, playing catch up to my friends, and just focusing on the more basic things of computer science. So after my junior year, I had taken all of the computer science classes that my friends in the major had taken freshman year. And I got a random email, and it was from Groupon, and it was saying that they had found my resume in a resume book, and asked if I wanted to interview at Groupon for an internship that summer. And I deleted the message because obviously it was spam. A couple days later, I don't know what came over me. I was like, wait, let me actually go read that again. So I read it again. And if you remember from, a couple slides earlier, that program called Prep for Prep that I did when I was in elementary school, they had found my resume in that resume book because at some point my mom had sent it in. I don't know. So I set up an interview with them and got the internship that summer, which was really exciting and I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams that would have happened so quickly. So I spent that summer in California in the Bay Area, interning at Groupon, went back to campus for my senior year, graduated with the joint degree between molecular biology and computer science, and then decided to join Groupon full time. I'd made a lot of good friends. I knew what the work was. I knew the company. I liked where I was. So I decided to return. But about a year in, I found myself honestly sort of bored with what I was doing. I had been doing full stack development, which was not the boring part. I think full stack is very cool. I was working on a lot of internal tooling. So things for automation of onboarding and offboarding employees, basically features that if they work properly, no one should ever know that they were happening in the background. And as I said, I interned there, and a lot of my intern friends that had also joined full-time were working on these new shiny things that went out to users and people were talking about them. And my work just always kind of felt in the background. So I knew that I wanted to change, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And as I also mentioned earlier, a lot of my friends from undergrad are also software engineers. And I lived with a couple of them at the time in the Bay Area. And I was sitting at home one night, kind of complaining about not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And totally as a joke, one of my friends said, "You're always on your phone, so why don't you learn iOS development?" He was definitely making fun of me, but I thought it was honestly a good idea. So the next day I did some research to see if there were any boot camps available in the Bay Area for iOS development specifically. And I was lucky enough to find a program called CodePath, which has a program that is geared towards people who are already like professional software engineers, but don't know iOS development. So I applied and got in, did that program for 8 weeks. We met 3 times a week after work, and just basically learned all the foundational requirements for iOS development. And one of my friends from my internship at Groupon was a product manager for an iOS team. So she put me in contact with her eng manager, and I was actually able to transfer to an iOS team at Groupon. So I ended up doing iOS work there for an additional year and a half. I decided after that year and a half, I loved iOS, but I needed to move on from Groupon specifically. I really wanted to have more of an impact in the work I was doing. So I found a company called Verily Life Sciences, which is a sort of sister company to Google. It's in the Alphabet umbrella, and they work on biotechnology. So at that company, I worked on a team called Project Baseline, and we built software for clinical trials. I was working at Verily when the pandemic started, and we very quickly realized that we had basically built the perfect platform for testing, scheduling, vaccine trials, you name it. So we really quickly shifted our roadmap to be more like COVID specific. So a ton of impact. It was very obvious what we were doing mattered, but it also led to a really unhealthy work-life balance, which is why I eventually left after about 2 years at that company. And then I knew that I really cared about company culture and enjoying where I work and being valued as an employee. And at the time, if you were looking for those things, you went to Twitter. I had some friends that worked at Twitter. They loved it. They said it was a great place to work, great work-life balance. So I went there, still doing iOS, working on a team that built features for small and medium-sized businesses on the platform. I was at Twitter for about a year and a half when things transpired that I'm sure we all know about. And my entire org was unfortunately let go about a week after Elon Musk bought the company, which is fine. So after being, my entire organization being let go from Twitter, I knew I still really cared about what I was working on, but also still really cared about having a good work-life balance and feeling valued as an employee. And I went to a technology conference with the priority of finding a new job, and got really lucky to actually meet my then eng manager. Like when I first joined at Uber, my eng manager, he's gone now, and my product manager at that career fair for that conference, and found out about the work they were doing in the equity space, which really resonated with me. Applied, got that job thankfully. And I've been at Uber for about a year and 2 months now. And then a little bit about who I am outside of work, because I like to keep my work, 9 to 5. I am a proud pet mom. I have 2 hairless cats named Ember and Eli. Ember is on the taller part of the cat tree. Eli's on the lower part. And I have a Labradoodle named Everett. I'm sure I locked him out of my office, and I don't think he's very happy with me right now. And I also just started a pottery business with my husband. I've been doing pottery since middle school, and he started more recently. And it's something that we both really love to do together and separately. And we have way too many pieces in our house, so we need to sell them to make space for our actual stuff. So a little bit about the day in the life of a senior software engineer. I would say on average, I have between 1 and 4 hours of meetings a day, really depends on the day. A lot of those meetings are more passive, all hands where you're listening. You can still be doing something lightly on the side. I'm probably not going to be coding while I'm listening to a meeting, but I can write a doc or respond to some Slack messages. I would say the vast majority of my day is typically spent coding on our iOS apps. Sometimes if I'm in between projects or a project is just kicking off, I'll spend a lot of time writing documents. When you work at bigger tech companies, it's really important to have a plan before you start implementing code. So we write a lot of very detailed documents before we actually start execution work to make sure that everyone's aligned on the plan, and to make sure that we don't hit any roadblocks once we start trying to actually deploy our code. Also spend time writing documentation to make sure that people understand what we've done. If anything goes wrong and I'm on vacation or no longer at the company, people need to understand what I built, how it works, so that they can fix it. One of my favorite pieces of being an engineer and being a senior engineer is actually mentoring less tenured engineers. I've found a lot of value personally in being a mentor for interns and college-age kids that are in different programs that all the companies I've worked at are in. I just find that it's really rewarding. And also, I think, as I said before, my background is kind of linear, but also kind of all over the place. So I think them seeing a more non-traditional background is a lot of the times really helpful for them to be able to see themselves at these big tech companies. And then in line with writing docs, we also have to review them. So I want to talk quickly as well about iOS development and why I've been doing it for 8 years now. I think from a career perspective, I love it because it's incredibly transferable company to company. Apple has a pretty aggressive stance on how things should be done. And because their ecosystem is so locked down, you can't really do things outside of the way Apple says to do them. Which means that for the most part, iOS development at Google is the same as iOS development at Uber is not the same. It's very similar to iOS development at Facebook. Another thing that I really love about doing more UI focused engineering work is that the validation loop is very short. You write code, you press run, and then within 5 minutes, you know if it works or not. So that kind of dopamine hit is very nice to have on a day-to-day basis. Something that I also love doing, another reason why I love iOS is that I actually get to use the apps I work on a daily basis, more so at some companies than others. Definitely a lot at Uber. I feel like I use Uber or Uber Eats once a day, which is not great for my wallet, but it is what it is. And then this is definitely a joke, but also kind of not a joke. For the most part, if I'm on my phone at work, people don't know if I'm texting my friends or testing an app, a feature. So that's kind of nice. So product equity specifically. So I just wanted to give a couple of quick definitions to just make sure that we're all on the same page here. So equality is giving an individual or a group the same exact resources or opportunities. Equity realizes that each person in each group has different circumstances and allocates the resources and opportunities to reach an equal outcome. So that's sort of where our team has our mantra, and that's how we think about Uber as a whole. So I think the first piece of equity in and technology and in apps that people think about often is accessibility. So if you use VoiceOver on an iPhone or TalkBack on an Android, can people who are blind use the app? I think a lot of companies stop there when it comes to equity work. Uber tries to take a step past that. So as some examples, I'm working on features right now for drivers and spenders that are deaf or hard of hearing, because there are a lot of pieces of the apps that I, as a hearing person, take for granted. And it's really important to put myself in the shoes of others who might not have the same lived experiences as me, to make sure that they're able to use the apps and reach the same outcomes that I'm able to reach. And here I just thought these are a bunch of different, pieces of personal identity that our team thinks about every day to try to make every Uber app more usable for everyone. Past doing the right thing, I love that as a product equity engineer, I work across all of the apps that Uber has because equity is needed everywhere. So I think I get to have more of a breadth of knowledge than the standard engineer at Uber, which is really great. And also, I really love that my team is kind of inherently passionate about the same thing. I think it's a really hard space to work in if you don't care. So it's nice to join a team where, we all have the same foundational values. And then quickly wanted to talk about tips for interview prep. I feel like interviewing is this like big scary monster. At least it is for me. I hate interviewing, but it is an inevitable thing in this industry. So for when you're more junior in your career, most of your interviews will either be behavioral or algorithms based. For algorithm interview prep, leak code, leak code, leak code. Just do all the problems. Make sure you understand the solutions. Don't just write something because you saw online that it works. Make sure you understand it. As an interviewer, it's very easy to see when someone is copying code versus understanding what they're writing. And definitely recommend doing mock interviews if you have any friends that know how to code. And even if you don't, just practice coding and speaking at the same time. That's a really important piece of those algorithms problems. And sometimes when I'm in my office, I talk to myself when I'm coding, but for the most part, I'm coding in silence. But in those interviews, you really need to be able to multitask, write code, and speak your thought process out at the same time. So you can practice that without actually having someone listening. And then as you get more advanced in your career, you'll see less and less of those algorithms-based interviews, and you get more into the specialized interview types based off of what you're doing. So as an example, when I interviewed at Uber, I think out of my 7 interviews, 2 of them were general algorithms based, and all of the rest of them were iOS based. So as you start to specialize more, you'll see those interviews also start to specialize more, which is really nice. That's all I have, but would love to hear what questions you all have.
Amazing. You can hear me and see me okay, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Just make sure it's still connected. So amazing. Thank you so much, Bria. Now I'm going to kick Bria off for just a minute, but if anybody has questions for Bria on the entire presentation that she just did, I'm going to invite her back up on stage in probably about 5 minutes or so. I'm just going to share some quick information, and then we'll go through any questions that you guys might have. So thanks, Bria. I'll invite you back up. Perfect. And here, let me share my presentation back up here again. There we go. All right. So as I said, I'm just going to share a little bit of information here, and we'll have her back up in just a few minutes for Q&A. So yeah, if anybody has any questions for Bria about software engineering, about her role at Uber, about anything that she just presented on, go ahead and start putting questions in the tab there now. And I am going to go over some of the course pricing and upcoming cohort information, as long as that's okay with everybody here. Get this here. Awesome. So yeah, I'll start off with the bootcamp pricing information. So the full price of this specific bootcamp is $14,995. It is available through UBC, and of course, people are able to pay direct for that, for anything in life if they choose. But if you were interested in this course and you were looking to pay for it over a period of time versus upfront, we do have options available for 6, 12, and 24-month periods. Basically, just reach out to the team here if you have any questions on any of that, and they can kind of go over that information. I will share the contact details for the team in just a moment too. So, and oh yeah, there's a promotion in place as well. So we have an event-specific promotion for anybody who's registered for this event, where the Software Development Bootcamp is 15% off. Um, right now, this is pacing to be one of our most popular courses that we have, and I know seats are filling like insanely fast. So the upcoming cohort dates, I'll share them in a moment here too. They're coming up in April, and I don't know how many seats we have left. I think we're at the point where we're looking at splitting and creating a whole extra class right now. So if you are interested, just reach out and let us know. The upcoming dates, as I mentioned, are going to be April 9th through September 12th. That's the immediate cohort that we have coming up soon. Following that, I don't think the dates are confirmed quite yet, but we will have one running from September of this year through to May of next year. And those are the two cohorts I believe that we have confirmed right now. So if you have any questions about that, again, just reach out to the team here. The easiest way to reach out would be to contact us. This is the direct number for the admissions team working through UBC. That's also the email address that you can reach anybody who's looking to book the course through UBC here. Or you can just scan this QR code on the screen here, and it should take you right to the course page. And I know I mentioned this earlier in the presentation. We've had people kind of come and go throughout, but this whole presentation will be recorded as well, including this QR code. So, basically you can scan it now, you can write down any of this, but you'll also get an emailed copy of this afterwards if you lose any of the contact details there. So no, don't worry if you do. And that's it. That's all. I just wanted to share the pricing information, the upcoming cohort information, and then just make sure that you guys knew how to contact us if you have any questions at all. And now I'm going to close the presentation here, turn off the formal part of all of this. I'm going to invite Bria back up on stage. If I can, there we go. And we'll flip over to some of the questions that we have here. So start with this first one. Are there any particular avenues we can look towards for receiving mentorship? I see you nodding already, Bria. I'm going to let you field that one first. I mean, I've got a few things.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you talk about industry specific.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think finding mentors is really hard. And I think that's because it sort of depends on the person that you're targeting to be your mentor. Some people, especially when they have really busy work lives, personal lives, they need you to come with like a very specific set of questions. So I think that's the biggest downfall. I've seen people, they're like, can you be my mentor? But then there's nothing after that. So it's really on the mentee to sort of drive that relationship to being what you need it to be. In terms of looking for particular avenues, if you go to any career fairs and you like really resonate with someone, ask them to, connect on LinkedIn, ask for a like single 15-30 minute chat. And then I think after that, if you feel like there's more you can gain from that relationship professionally, then you can ask for that more formal mentorship. And then I think once you are in a company, that mentorship is kind of set up for you, or it should be as part of your onboarding process.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just, I guess, to speak from the course perspective, if anyone was looking at doing that and we don't have like a specific mentorship option that way, but we have a massive network. So basically when you come through any of our courses, whether it's, software development or game development or XR design, whatever the case may be, you get added to our full network. And then there's a whole bunch of people in there that can kind of support you. It's not exactly the same as mentorship, but you do end up getting a lot of the same sort of advice and guidance in that way. So, okay, let's go to the next one here. Thanks for your time sharing information about the software industry. I have one quick question. I've worked with digital marketing for 13 years now, but was unable to get into the same profile job. So planning to pivot my career into software development. Can you suggest my roadmap? I see you got nodding again, Bria. I'm going to let you field a lot of these first because you're the expert in software development.
Yeah, so everyone's roadmap is different, right? Like my path was all over the place. So I don't want to say like, this is what you need to do and only do this. I do think, obviously, as someone who did a boot camp, that doing a boot camp is a great start. I think it's a really structured way to learn and learn the right things because you have other people verifying that you're learning the right things. And then I guess my only thing after that is keep applying to jobs. I know that well, one, the market is weird right now. It was not like this when I joined. It is weird. So like, don't take it personally and just keep applying to jobs. Like there are always more software engineering roles out there, or software development roles, sorry. Just keep applying. Do not take it personally. Every time you don't pass an interview, you're learning more. And it means that you'll be better for the next one.
Absolutely. That's what I always say. Like going through the interview process seems painful. It seems tiring sometimes, but it is like the best learning experience that you can get. It sharpens all of your skills, and it makes you have a better understanding of what you're trying to do too. So amazing. And of course, I mean, we have a boot camp. My suggestion would be, of course, to check out the boot camp and the education we have available through UBC. But the QR code that I shared earlier will take you to the course page, and that'll take you most importantly to the syllabus, and you can take a close look at what's offered there, and if it's kind of hit what you're hoping to do. And boot camps are also kind of a way to fast track your career sometimes. So I'll just add that in too. So, all right. So what kind of challenges have you faced when you transitioned into iOS developer? It's probably a broad question. I'm sure there's a few things you've encountered, but anything that kind of stands out there?
Yeah, I think my first reaction when I read this question was not anything technical. I think the boot camp I did prepared me in that way. And also, I was a year into my career. I don't think anyone expected me to like be revamping the whole app. I think the thing that was hardest for me when I transitioned into iOS development, and also in college when I switched my major, was imposter syndrome. It's really easy to see where everyone else is and how long everyone else has been doing this. I went to college with kids that had been doing iOS development since they were literally 8 years old, and they had like 10 apps in the App Store when we started college. So I think just really try to avoid that comparison. Everyone's path is different. Again, if you told me freshman year that I would be a senior software engineer at Uber doing iOS development, I literally would have laughed at you. So just like try to keep the comparisons internal if you need comparisons, and try not to get too into your head.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge for people a lot of the time too, and especially when you're moving into something new, it's hard not to look at what everybody else is doing and what they've accomplished and what they've achieved, and then beat yourself up a little bit. So that's really good advice. Okay, hi Bria, your path really resonates with mine, and congrats on all you've done so far. Are there any technical tools or skills you wish you had or knew about earlier in your career? Another great question. These are really good questions, guys.
They are great questions. On the technical front, I actually feel like MIT prepared me pretty well for that, which I guess makes sense. Like they kind of churn out software engineers. I think one skill that luckily, I think comes more naturally to me, but didn't realize how big of an impact it would have on my career are the softer skills. Being able to talk to people, the biggest one is being able to convey a very technical thing to someone who does not have a technical background. As a software engineer, if I need an extra week to work on something, I need to be able to convey to my product manager why this very technical thing that, like, honestly, they probably don't care that much about is important enough that we need to take an extra week and delay our launch. So I think those softer skills are sometimes not developed until people get into their career. And working on those skills sooner, I think, will help you.
Absolutely. Another good question. More great advice. Thank you, guys. Oh, and this was in addition to the one earlier that we answered, the digital marketing question and pivoting into software development. They just added to it as well that they just moved to Canada in 2023. So I'm just going to put that up really quick and hit I'm done, just so that we don't skip it. It says that we missed a question. All right. I graduated as a software engineer. I was a Java developer. I moved into low code, no code development for 4 years now. It's a boot camp, a good way to get back into full stack development. Yeah, I can see you. I can just answer really quick from like our side, from the bootcamp perspective. I mean, absolutely, it definitely covers that. I'd say, I said this earlier too, but the best way to kind of get a good understanding of what the course is going to cover and what your outcomes will be, kind of like when you graduate, what your understanding, what your technical skills will be. The best way to do that is take a good look through the course syllabus. And that would just be on the QR code that I shared earlier in the presentation. Just let me know again if you need any access to that. I can share it again in the chat, but that's probably the best way to kind of show what you'll learn in this one. But in terms, I see you kind of nodding as well, Bria. Was there anything you wanted to add to that in general?
Nope, you covered that.
Nope?
I think just
Okay,
like
cool.
make sure that the boot camp is addressing what you need to address.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know it definitely covers full stack development, but I just want to make sure that you kind of see how in depth that goes before you take the course. Oh, my sound is cutting out a bit. Can you please repeat what you said about Bootstrap Bootcamp? I don't think I said anything. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Lucia. And I do apologize if my mic, if full transparency, I'm working in a building right now and there's some construction happening a low level below us. And so I have the gain on my microphone down pretty far. So if I cut out, if I step too far away, just let me know. But Lucia, do you want to maybe type in the chat or in the questions again, a little bit more specific about what it was that I was mentioning? I'm happy to kind of go back over it again. I'm just not quite sure what you mean. Okay. I want to know if this course is a good for people who don't have any experience in the technology industry. I have no experience at all in this industry. I want my profile. I want to profile myself in the technology industry. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's a great way for you to dive in. The course itself is considered completely beginner friendly. So it starts off very easy and it will tackle more advanced concepts as you kind of go throughout the full length of the course. There's probably a million other ways that you can also immerse yourself into the industry in addition to doing something like the bootcamp. At the same time, connecting yourself with networks, reaching out, connecting with people on LinkedIn. I mean, Bria gave a bunch of advice earlier on how you can kind of find mentors. And I think a lot of that same ideology can be kind of used on how you can immerse yourself just into the industry in general and reach out and connect with people. So, but the bootcamp would be a great way to learn technical skills if you don't have any background, because bootcamps start at a beginner friendly level. So hopefully that answers that one. Thanks for sharing your journey. As somebody who went through a computer science degree as well, what are some of the drawbacks to doing a bootcamp versus a traditional degree? For example, what are some knowledge or experience gaps boot campers are likely to face? And I can let you answer that one, Bria, because you have the comparative there.
Yeah, so the boot camp that I did was a more specialized one because everyone that was in it had a computer science degree, so we were kind of doing both. I think from in my opinion, I think the biggest difference is that there is, and I think it's lessening now. It is lessening now, which is good. There's a thought in the industry that it is better to hire people with traditional degrees. I don't think that's actually true. And I think that a lot of companies are realizing that that's not true. I think doing a boot camp gives you real world experience. At MIT, I learned a lot. I think if I had to summarize what I learned in college, it was how to think, not how to do. I learned a lot of ways to solve problems, solve different types of problems. But when I started my actual career, I had never used GitHub. I had never used the command line. Like these things that I do every day, like that just wasn't part of the curriculum. I think in a boot camp, they teach you, and I can't speak specifically to Circuit Stream, but I would imagine that Circuit Stream is teaching how to think, but also how to do in a real world situation of day to day, this is what it means to be a software engineer, which we were not really taught in college.
Yeah, and that's how I kind of answer it as well. Like there's probably highs and lows to both sides of it, depending on how you kind of approach it and what kind of a background you're coming from. But yeah, that's probably the perfect way to summarize it. I mean, even on game development, we connect with a lot of recruiters, we connect with a lot of people who are in hiring positions, and a lot of them will look at people with computer science backgrounds, and they'll also look at a whole handful of people with experience backgrounds. And oftentimes it comes down to what you can kind of demonstrate at the time of when you're going through the interview process. And sometimes there's just people who have a better understanding of coding, they have a better understanding of certain things with different types of hands-on education. And then other times somebody who went through a computer science program might have a better understanding. So it really kind of comes down to the individual. But what I say is try and support yourself as much as you can. Like whether you're taking a course or a boot camp, just immerse yourself into the industry as much as you can. Connect with as many people, ask as many questions as you can, practice your interview skills as many times as you can once you're confident enough to start applying for jobs. And there's definitely success stories on both sides. I think it used to be a little bit more on the computer science side solely as being viewed, where it's definitely changed quite a bit in the last decade or two, I'd say. So hopefully that answers your question between the two of us there. Sorry, we held that one up for a while. So this course was described as April to September or 36 weeks. Which is it? I have to double. Yeah, this course is 36 weeks. It should be. If I had the dates wrong in the presentation, I do apologize. I'll have to go back and look. Megan, the easiest way to just reach out to the team here. We can confirm the full like start and finish dates. If I had something wrong in the presentation and the dates, I do apologize. I thought you said something about Bootstrap Bootcamp. No worries. Yeah, I didn't say anything about that. I don't think so, Lucia. But if there's anything in the presentation that I was saying, and you go back and you kind of want a little bit more explanation on it, just reach out to us and let us know. You can also email me. My email is just tyler@circuitstream.com. You can find me on LinkedIn too. Feel free to add me, guys. You can search just CircuitStream and Tyler Trapp, and I think there's only one of me out there with both of those credentials. So feel free to add me. And then I don't know, Bria, if you have your link, your LinkedIn profile or anything that you want to share in the chat. If you have it handy, feel free to do that. I think that's it for the questions though here, guys. Oh, here we go. April 9 enrollment ends December 12th. I think I'm enrolled. Can't wait. Amazing. Oh, sweet. So Lucy is already enrolled in the camp as it is. So perfect. All right. Well, no more questions that I can see. Bria just shared her LinkedIn in the chat there, so feel free to connect with Bria through LinkedIn. Huge thank you again, Bria, for taking the time to do this with us here today. The information you shared is invaluable. You're great to chat with. You're an awesome presenter. So I'd love to have you back again in the future if you're interested in coming back.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then otherwise, I think we're running another event in a couple of days. Feel free to check out our websites through CircuitStream. But otherwise, I can kind of finish it there. So thank you so much, Bria. I hope everybody has a wonderful Tuesday, and we will see you all in the next event. All right. Bye, everyone.